Okay, so I'm continuing on my post that I made about the coffee and whipped cream and the girl that had dropped out of school that I talked to uh, and convinced her to come back to school. And um, I feel like at one time there was like, it became a thing um, where like a lot of people had kind of heard about it, like because kind of rumors and stuff they start up. Um, but I feel like like Travis and Mike, like they had talked to this girl after she came back to school, and you know that night, like like I was so adamant um, about everything that I had said to her and my reasoning behind it, and um, you know Mike and Travis, I feel like they saw like my passion and my feeling about it. Like I was so serious, you know what I'm saying? And it's like the things that they were saying, like I was just going against it like so hard, and um, having that strong of a feeling, um, you know, even though I kept telling them like it's not, it's not what you think. It's not because I'm in love with this girl or whatever. Like, they didn't believe me. They was like, they were just like, yeah, he's in love with her, and I think that's what they told her, and I feel like that's like part of the reason. Besides, the advice that I had given her, like when I saw her, whatever, like she was smiling so hard at me, and I think she really was happy about, the things that I had said to her, and how I had, um, given her that advice or whatever, and she decided to come back to school. But I think they also had talked to her and told her it's like he's in love with you, um, and so you know, like I told her, when we talked that first time I seen her back on campus, like I was like it's not that, it's like um, there's more to it, and there was, but like I feel like it became a thing, and like other people started hearing about it or whatever, and like wanted us to, was like watching to see like are they gonna get together, and it did become a thing, and I was like, after a while I was like, you know what, because it's like other people like really wanted it, you know what I'm saying, and I was just like, and I kind of like befriended her, and she was really cool, and um after a while um I was like, I was considering it, you know what I'm saying, because people had talked about it so much and brought it up, um and I feel like she wanted it too until I came around to it. It's kind of like that, because I had told her, I was like, I don't have a romantic interest in you, whatever, yada yada yada. But then, yeah, I guess my mind changed after a while. After it had been mentioned so many times, like I started thinking about it, and I was like, wow. I was like, what I'm saying, like we do have, you know, um, I do seem to have this like concern about her, and it would be like, I started to think like it could be good, you know what I mean? Um, just because of the way everything started. You know what I'm saying? Like I just started out with an interest in like her well being, and um, that would be a good way to start things off. Um, and so anyway, when I finally came around to it, it was like she, I like, she lost whatever. You know what I'm saying? Um, like I said, it's like you want the thing that you can't have, and while you can't have it, um, that's exactly what you want. Until you get it, and then it's like, well, the whole appeal was that you couldn't have it. So sometimes like that. So I think it might have been like that. Um, but what else? Um, so yeah, that happened, and um, hold on. So, I think that might have been part of it was, um, you know, this thing I couldn't have, and now all of a sudden it's available. And then another part might have been the fact that just kind of my initial, you know, thoughts and stance was, I'm not interested in a relationship with her or whatever. Which that's honestly what it was, and it was like it was nothing wrong with her at all. It was just, I guess it was just based on first impressions or whatever. Like I saw her and I was like, oh, she's cute, and I was like, let me take a look at her. Let me see, is she somebody I would want to be with? And then, I was like, nah. I was like, I don't. And so I just kind of left it alone. And it wasn't all because of her. Like, it was other things to it. Some of the other things were like, there were other girls. Like, I wasn't new at school. Like, I had been at the school already, for a while. Been through a couple of semesters. And when I first got there, like, there was other girls like Sharice. Like, I immediately fell in love with Sharice. And wanted, I wanted her so badly. And then she ended up hanging out with these other guys, and that's a whole nother thing I'm gonna get to later. But anyway, it ended up being a disappointment, and I was just like, all right, whatever. So it was kind of like take a chill on that stuff. I'm falling for these girls like so quickly or whatever. So that was part of it. Again, it was. I mean, she was a good looking girl. I didn't really see anything that was like, like wrong or whatever. I did kind of think, I was like, we probably really different or whatever, and we probably, don't match up or whatever. I think that was it. I think I don't remember what it was. This so many years ago. I don't remember what it was, but I saw something and I was like, we probably really different people, and we probably wouldn't match up. But anyway, oh yeah. So as I think about this though, now it's starting to come back to me, everything that happened and went down. So after she came back to campus or whatever, like I kind of befriended her, and not just me, like Mike befriended her, and Travis did too. And but the thing was like, she ended up like hanging out or kicking it with Mike and Travis like more, like kind of often. And then Mike and Travis would tell me about it. It was like, yeah, we was hanging out with such and such. Dang, I could almost remember her name now. Now I can't remember. Oh man, I can almost remember it, but I don't remember though. I feel like it's like a multiple syllable name. Was it something like Americus or something? I know it wasn't Americus, but that's another girl that I remember from my younger days. But I don't know. I feel like it was kind of a multiple syllable name, and I don't know. Oh, yeah, it wasn't a really common name. I'm not gonna think of it because it wasn't a common name. But I was like, yeah, we was hanging out with what's her name, and I would hear about it all the time, and they'd be like, yeah, she's mad cool, yeah. And then when I would see her, she would tell me about Mike and Travis. And I was like, at some point, like I did get jealous. I was like shit, like that's my. I was like, I discovered her. Like I was like, you only know them because you know me, or whatever. I don't know. Like I don't know. I felt like, what did I feel? Not like she was my girl, but I did feel like, she's my person because, you know, yeah, that's how I felt. I don't know. And I don't know what it was with this girl. Like, I don't know. Like, I just felt immediately protective and, you know, something over her. Like, I just felt protective over her and just wanted her well-being. But I promise, like, I was not telling a non-truth when I was like, I'm not trying to hook up with her. I'm not trying to get with her. Like, I really, the only reason I started talking a whole lot was when she told me, she was like, when she said she wasn't going to go, she quit school because it was hard. And I heard that give up in her voice. I was just like, it just really hit me. It hit me in a lot of places. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just hit me hard. And I was just like, I don't know. It was like a black thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I can't let another black person like have this, you know, I'm just going to quit mentality, give up. Like, I was like, no, you don't just quit because it's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that just means that's, you know, the reward. That means it's going to be rewarding later. You know, there's nothing that's worthwhile that's going to be easy. And the stuff that's easy, you know, it's not going to be as rewarding. Anyway, yeah, I went into a lot of stuff that night when we were at the table talking or whatever. And we had, I was talking real stuff. But yeah, so I kind of feel like they were trying to get to me at some point. Like they were trying to get us together. I can almost remember her name. I really can. But I can't remember. It's just not coming. But dang. Yeah, it was not a very common name. And I think I didn't use her name as it was fully. Like I had like a different version of it that I used to say that was a little bit easier and I thought was cooler or whatever. But I can't remember her name though. Anyway, yeah, I feel like they were like trying to make me jealous, whatever, because they would just talk about it, yeah, I don't know. But it worked though, because eventually I was like, dang, why she don't kick with me? Like, you know, like that whole thing worked. And I feel like she was trying to do it too. Like I feel like they you know, they wanted to bring me around. But like I said, like when I did come around to it, I told her all my reasoning behind it, you know. And I think she didn't like my reasoning, like a lot of it. Like it was kind of like, you know, it took so much to get you to this point, and you know, it's kind of like influenced by, you know, other people wanting us to be together, and you know, it didn't really come from you. And that, you know, that all makes sense. But, you know, it did come from me eventually. Like, you know, I decided, I was like, dang, this would be a good idea. But, you know, I don't know. It wasn't my initial viewpoint. But it doesn't always happen that way. And then it didn't necessarily have to do with her. Like I said, it was, a lot of it had to do with the place that I was in. Past disappointments. From, you know, girls that I was interested in, also being in a place where, again, like I really wanted to connect to more meaningful things in life. Like I didn't want to be superficial and basic and, obvious, about, anything. Like I didn't want to try to connect to a person or to a female just because like she was attractive. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's what's expected. And that's a habit. And it was like at some point I was just like do something different. You know what I'm saying? Like do something different from what every guy you know does and thinks is cool, and what we expect from each other. Like, just be different, be more, like, be better. It's kind of the place I was in. So, and I really believed that, and I was just like, I was like, yeah, this girl's, she's attractive or whatever, but at the end of the day, it was like, you know what, like, she's a person. Like, try considering something besides that exterior, you know what I'm saying, which might be attractive or whatever. What about what about what's on the inside? What about what kind of concerns this person really had? And then, so when she started talking about dropping out of school and how hard it was, like, that was a real thing. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was already thinking about before she opened her mouth to say anything. It was like, what about the real person? Like, I started to wonder about that. Like, what about the real person? What are their real concerns? You know what I'm saying? And not for an ulterior motive of so that I can hook up with her or sleep with her. It was really like, the motive was for me to try to understand something about life, about people, about connecting to people, about being a better person, about more meaningful things in life, about integrity and goodness, like real stuff, and not just like, wow, this is a dope girl, like, let me see what I can do to try to get her in bed and sleep with her, because that's so superficial, so empty. And so yeah, that's where I was, and that was like a beautiful place to be in. Like, I was definitely totally on the right track, and it was like, yeah, that's exactly the place I should have been in. And it was there's other stuff too, because so I had joined the fraternity, and oh yeah, this became an issue too. I had joined the fraternity, and which is Kappa Alpha Psi, and Kappas have a reputation. We have a reputation of being pretty boys or whatever. There's that, being smooth, yada yada yada. And there's some other things, a reputation of being the ladies man and ladies man, and not which to some people may be a good thing, but to some people are not a good thing. Like, it's like, don't trust no Kappas, you know what I'm saying? Because then they just sleep around, yada yada yada, and then they smooth, and they cool and all that, but you can't trust them, so and hey, all I'm saying is I'm not saying that reputation is not earned, but I will say that it may not, it may be a little bit blown out of proportion, and as much as I uh, like being a Kappa or whatever, there was some negative to it of, like I said, like that's the only thing that people see at that time. You're in college, is, yeah, you're Kappa or whatever, you know everything that he's about. You know what I'm saying? He only trying to do this, he only trying to do that. And being who I am, I kind of resented that. You know what I'm saying? I kind of resented not being able to be seen outside of being a Kappa. I was like, listen, okay, yeah, I joined Kappa. Yeah, I'm a noob. But like, I was like, I'm a man first. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a man before any of these other titles or whatever you can put on me. I'm a person. I'm something else, more than what you're seeing on the surface. Is what I wanted to get across and to intimate. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, I enjoy being a Kappa. I enjoy being cool. At the end of the day, I'm a person. Like I'm, there are real things that I want in life. I have a heart. So I gotta laugh because, oh man, it's another story about one of my frat brothers, Eric, and him saying I have a heart when we were online. Like, I'm getting to that story later, but but yeah, like I have real, actual, sincere feelings, and so that gets taken away sometimes when people put this label on you because of the group that you're associated with. But I joined this group, so it's like you ask for that. You ask for everything that comes with being a part of this group, so you got to deal with it. And I was like, okay, well, I can deal with it. And I was like, I don't have to be what everybody is expecting and looking at me as. And it was like, me personally, I had I guess I had a cause for showing my integrity despite what everybody says about Kappas or whatever. But that got turned into something else where people were in her ear saying, they're just trying to use you to try to change their image as a fraternity or whatever. And so that put her on guard. Like, she felt like, oh, you guys are just trying to use me. I think about it. It was all y'all Kappas or whatever that night at the table or whatever, and it got turned into this whole conspiracy and plot. Like, we had just singled her out and picked her as, yeah, we're going to use this person to change our image or whatever. And that wasn't how it developed at all. Like, okay, it really came from me personally, and the place that I was in, and my desire for growth is what it was. Because joining a fraternity, there was something I was looking for. I was looking for, something deep, real deep. And so in my process of going through Kappa, going through the pledge process, I was looking for something real deep. You know what I'm saying? And pledging Kappa, like, that's some stuff that we learned that was cool. We learned some literature and some good ideas and concepts, but it, what I was looking for was much deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, Kappa's, it's kind of deep. It's kind of deep, But I was looking for some depth, like, like oceans deep, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was like, it was like swimming pool deep, you know what I'm saying? It was cool. It was cool. Swimming pool, that's fun. But that's not the depth that I was looking for. I was looking for, bottom of the ocean deep. So everything that Kappa had to offer, I was soaking it up. Like, yeah. More. Give me more. It's like that the movie The Matrix, when Neo plugged into the Matrix that first time, after he had been unplugged, but he plugged in for the first time, where you could upload information into your head. And for me, it was like, yeah, I want that. Give me a machine like that just can upload me with all types of knowledge, and without, it's like when he woke up, he's like, I know Kung Fu. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, for me, it's like, more. I want more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I was. I'm ready to soak up everything that you got. Go ahead. I'm trying to load it up, because what I'm really trying to get to is something fundamentally deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I'm in college for, right? But I'm not expecting it to find it just in the classroom. Like, I'm thinking, I didn't know what it was exactly that I was looking for, but I knew once I found it, I was going to recognize it. Something deep, foundational, important, something paradigm shattering. You know what I mean? I knew I was going to find it if I kept looking for it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it looked like, but I knew when I found it, I would know that this is it. And so that's part of the reason I joined Kappa. There's a lot of reasons. I came up with the idea to join a fraternity when I was still in elementary school. It was just one of those things. Two things I want to do. I want to play football. I want to join the frat. And that was the college experience that I wanted to give myself. And I came up with that idea when I was in elementary school. I didn't play football because we didn't have a team at first, and then by the time we got a team, I really wasn't interested in playing football anymore. So I didn't do that, but I did join the frat, and I gave myself what I had planned on giving myself from the time I was in elementary school. I gave myself a wonderful college experience. I did the things that I thought I should experience and have in college, which really seemed like something that was out of reach, out of grasp, couldn't be hoped for, or shouldn't be hoped for by me. But I was going to hope for it, and I knew I was going to have it anyway. And I was going to make that happen no matter what. I started researching this stuff in elementary school. How I was gonna do that. And so, yeah, again, like, this whole thing, like, she became weary of us because of, people talking, and it was like, I was like, it doesn't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything how it developed organically, the whole experience. Like, how would we have identified her beforehand, of, she's somebody that we can use. I mean, she had dropped out of school, you know what I'm saying? And, like, it became a whole issue. Like, people were telling her, oh, they're just trying to use you to better their image or whatever. And my whole thing with that was, like, for one, that doesn't make sense. For two, okay, let's say that that's true. That we just want to use you to make our image better. How would we do that by doing anything to harm you? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we wanted to use you to make our image better, could we make our image better by trying to manipulate and use you, or do anything that was negative or to harm you? Like, if we were going to do that, if we were going to use you to try to make our image better, wouldn't the only way that we would be able to do it would be to actually do things that are good and beneficial to you? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I was like, what this, like, I was like, no, I was like, the truth is, like, a lot of this comes from me. It comes from, the things that I believe. And that has an influence. It has an influence on my big brothers. It had an influence on you. You decided to come back to school. And that's how life works. That's how life works. You know what I'm saying? Like, the decisions that we make are substantial. They are important, and they reverberate, and they have influences on other people around us, either for good or for bad. So the people that are in your ear, they're way on the outside looking in. You know what I'm saying? And everything that they're talking about is really based on hearsay, and rumors and opinions. And it really has not, they don't even know what this group is about. Like, first of all, the organization is a service organization. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the ideals and the principles. Like, this is supposed to be based on doing good things. It's supposed to be based on having a positive influence. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't even know what Kappa's about. But, all they know is, Kappa's twirl a cane. You know what I'm saying? They shimmy. They throw parties. And, and they mess with a lot of girls. You know what I'm saying? And then there's, there's other rumors or whatever. Kappa's are, gay or whatever. They sweet. You know what I'm saying? That's haters or whatever. The organization has had like gay people in it, but yeah, other organizations have had gay people too. It's been gay alphas and, probably gay Qs or something. I don't know. They're not really known for that, but probably too. Sigma's not really known for that too, but yeah, it's probably been some download gays in every organization, iota, all of them. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so rumors and reputations based on other people's hearsay, and it's like, it's like you're listening to them, but they're on the outside. Like, they don't really even have anything to do with us. Like, and you're letting what they say influence what you think about us, but you have like personal experience with us. You know what I'm saying? So, like, based on your experience, your actual experience with us, why would you believe what these people who don't even interact with us, but you believe what it is that they're saying? They're telling you who we are, but they don't even bother to have an experience with us. They don't even have any personal experience with us because they're just going based on rumors. This is what Kappas are. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot. It was a lot in that whole experience or whatever. And it just really is it's really all connected to critical thinking and looking at the world in a different way and trying to make sense of it, which has a lot to do with the place that I was in at that time in my life in college. And so all of this is kind of tied to the concept again of, for one thing, there's always resistance to whatever it is that you're trying to do in life. And you can be doing the most righteous thing. You can be doing good things. And there will still be people that don't understand you. They don't understand your intentions. They don't understand what you're about. And there's resistance. You can do the most, righteous thing there is. And there's still going to be resistance. Listen, just when you walk down the street, if you walk down the street, you walk down the sidewalk, okay, there is resistance. There's resistance to your forward momentum. It's friction. The friction between your feet, your shoes, and the sidewalk. There's friction. There's resistance to the way that you're trying to go. Okay? But the thing is, that friction it's infinitesimal compared to your forward momentum. That's why it can't stop you. It can't stop you unless, your inner volition, that's the thing that is most critical. So, that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying like that, when you're doing the right thing, then there's nothing external that can stop you. It's like that little bit of friction between, your shoes, your feet, and the sidewalk. It can't, it's going to fold. It can't stand up to the overwhelming forward momentum that you have that comes with actually doing the right thing. When I was in middle school, you had to have a hall pass in order to go to the bathroom. If you left the classroom, you had to have a hall pass. They had this system. You had to get the hall pass from the teacher. You say, I got to go to the bathroom. Can you give me the hall pass? Okay. They might let you go. They might not let you go. But they're supposed to, let you go to the bathroom because you're in the classroom for multiple hours. You need a hall pass to go to the bathroom. And if you're walking through the halls, if you don't have a hall pass from a teacher, you get called out, you get in trouble. Right? But in middle school, hey, I got into a little, I was a little bit mischievous, I'll say, not devious, mischievous. I was a little bit mischievous, right? Sometimes I just do what I want to do. And, I came up, I figured out this method. Like, I thought about it. I was like, you know what? When I have the hall pass and I'm walking through the halls, like, nobody asks me anything. Nobody says, what are you doing out in the hall? And I get in trouble. Like when I have the hall pass, because and what I figured out was they don't ask me any questions because when I'm walking through the hall with the hall pass, I don't look nervous. I don't look like I'm about to get in trouble. I don't look like I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing because I know that I'm doing everything completely right. But when, if I'm skipping class, if I'm doing something that I know is wrong and I see another adult, like there's immediate panic on the inside, fear. You know what I'm saying? I'm anticipating getting in trouble because I know that I'm not doing everything right. So then what I figured out was, you know what? Let's see what happens if I don't have the hall pass and I go out and I just pretend I convince myself, I pretend and convince myself that I am, it's like I have a hall pass. I'm just going to pretend that I do have a hall pass even though I don't. Because when I do have the hall pass, I don't get in trouble. So I'm just going to act like I have a hall pass. I'm not, not to show one. I'm not going to fake having a hall pass. But I'm just going to carry myself and walk past them as if the same way I would if I had the hall pass. Because what I figured out was, if you look like you're doing the right thing, then the teachers and administrators or whatever, they won't even say anything to you. They'll just walk past you. Because every time I have a hall pass, that's exactly what they do. What I realized, it was me. It was me to giving a clue to them that I was doing something wrong, and then they would ask me. But when I had that hall pass, because I knew in my mind I wasn't doing anything wrong, I had that confidence. And what I figured out was, like, if you just walk through the hall with confidence, you know what I'm saying? Like, they won't even bother you. So, perhaps a bad example, because, the point is, you don't want to figure out how to do the wrong thing the right way, as my granddaddy said. You don't want to figure out the right way to do the wrong thing. But the point is this: you want to continually do the right thing, because that will give you that confidence. Because even though I could kind of fake it with, the hall pass, and I psyched myself into believing that, I have a hall pass, and I can do the right thing, and I can kind of fake these people out about the hall pass. Deep down inside, I know, like, this is not what I'm really supposed to be doing. And so it's not it wasn't as powerful as when I actually have the hall pass. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't as powerful as that. And there's nothing that can be more powerful than actually having that real resolution and understanding and knowledge, like, about I'm doing exactly the right thing. Be convinced in your own mind, but don't be deceived. Don't be self-deceived. Actually critically look at what you're doing and why you're doing it. So, one of the concepts, one of the principles is, think twice and then don't have a second thought about it. So, and what that means is, it's kind of the same concept as measure twice, cut once. You know what I'm saying? Like, make sure that what you're doing is actually right, and then you don't have to look back. You can go full speed ahead if you actually examine and say, listen, are the things that I'm doing, are they right? Or how do I know that they're right? Okay, and then once you have that conviction, then go ahead full speed. If the thing you wish to do is right, go ahead and do it. You know what I'm saying? And that is powerful. You know what I'm saying? Because, listen, if you psych yourself out, or if you're not sure about what you're doing and whether or not it's right, that's that internal resistance that you can have, that can cause you, it's going to stop your forward momentum at some point. And you can convince yourself that it's not right. But if you got any doubts about it, if you got any doubts, any misgivings about what you're doing, it's probably for a reason. Probably on some level, that it's not right, and you can abuse your conscience, and you can convince yourself of something that's not truth, and you can go against it, but you're not going to be able to get away from it. You're not going to be able to get away from the truth. At the end of the day, you're going to have to, at some point, you're going to have to, you have to pay the piper. At some point, you're going to have to deal with the reality. You're going to have to deal with the truth. At some point, you're going to have to come to terms with the reality of your decisions, and whether or not you've been dealing truthfully, in the truth, with the truth. You have to deal with it at some point. You have to. There's no escape. Listen, in the end, there it is. Truth is incontrovertible. Okay, it's going to remain. Everything else is going to fade away, but the truth is going to be there. You're going to have to deal with it. You can push it down, stamp it down. It's like the grass. It's going to come right back up at some point. It's going to come up. No matter what you try to do against it or try to get away from it, you really can't, because it's truth. And that is the essence of truth. It's what remains. It's what remains. You can't get away from it. That's the essence of truth. A lie has to fade away. It's made up. A lie has to fade away. And the truth is going to remain. Like that's how it is, because what's real is real. A lie it's just make believe. And a lie, look, it may have its day. It may have a field day. Okay? Meaning, listen, it may last for a long time. It may have a ball. Like it has its good time to lie. Okay? But it cannot last. It can't last because the illusions, okay, it's set up this way. Universe is set up this way. That illusion is going to fade at some point. The light of everything done in darkness is going to come to the light. I set it up this way. At some point, okay, the illusion is going to fade. The things that you're doing in the darkness that you think are not going to come to the light, that you think you're getting away with, and it all seems like, hey, I'm getting this fast money. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting away with it. All that's gonna fade away at some point. Listen. Okay, at some point, okay, the reaper is gonna come to collect at some point. The owner of the vineyard is going to come at some point. The master is going to come at some point to see what you've done with your talents. The husbandman is going to come at some point. And you're going to have to, there's not going to be getting away from the truth. So, the lies, the not dealing with reality, the not being true, the way that you deal with people that has nothing to do with integrity, has nothing to do with truth, all of the things that you're feeding yourself with, the substances that you're taking, so that you can get away from reality, so that you don't have to deal with yourself, so that you don't have to deal with the real world and real problems. Everything that you're using as distraction, all the stuff's going to fade away. All the stuff is not going to hold up in the end. In the end, those things, listen, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. One day you're going to have to pay the toll. One day you're going to have to pay the toll, and you might as well do it now. You might as well do it right now, because you don't want to come up short. And it's like you keep avoiding paying the toll right now, and when you don't, it's like interest building up. And the more you push it off, the more interest is growing. Like, come on, you can understand this concept. Like, this is pragmatic. Because if you don't pay that bill on time, okay, you just keep paying the minimum, or you don't pay it at all. Like, the interest is building up. And the more you don't pay it, the more becomes due. And the interest is building interest on top of the interest. So the more that you put it off, the bigger the debt becomes, the more unmanageable it becomes, because you keep putting off dealing with reality, dealing with the truth, dealing with the things that you need to deal with. You keep putting it off. But if you pay up front, if you pay up front the things that you're supposed to deal with, then you can manage that thing. And when you come to the end, listen, you're not dealing with something that can't be paid. If you keep putting it off, it's going to be impossible for you to pay at the end. You're just going to be coming up short. You're going to come up way short, unable to pay the debt. So, usury is a bad thing, right? Usury is a bad thing, like this compound interest and stuff like that. Not a good thing, but all things serve me. It's like even that, it's like evil in the world. Evil's not good, right? But all things serve me. Even the things that are bad, that serves a purpose too, because you can learn from it, right? You can learn from it. Like it's an example. It's an example. You should learn from that example. Like, man, like that's a bad situation. Like, I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that, and I don't want to have to deal with that. Okay? You don't want all that compound interest building up on you. Okay, well, pay the debt on time, so you don't end up in that situation. So you don't end up getting punished by that. So I mean, it's so many examples and applications to that. You don't want to end up getting punished. So pay the debt. Pay the debt of truth. Pay the debt of integrity. Pay the debt of doing the right thing. Because you don't want to come up short. You don't want to come up. Pay the debt of adhering to righteousness and doing good. Because you don't want to come up short. You don't want to convince yourself that not doing these things is the right thing, and that you can just get away with it. If you just trick yourself into believing you got that hall pass, and that if you just mosey on through life, with the confidence that you don't have to have that hall pass, you don't have to do the right thing. As long as I convince myself in my own mind, okay, that I'm doing the right thing, even when, I know I'm not doing the right thing. Deep down inside, I know I'm not doing the right thing. But it's all going to be okay. And this is what happens with the people. This is what's happening with the people that say, listen, man, I don't have to follow God's law. That stuff was done away with. That was abolished. Jesus, he abolished that. He did away with that. That's old. That's the old law. That's the old law. We under the new law. We under grace now. No. Don't fool yourself. Don't deceive yourself. Don't even think that way. I didn't come to abolish the law. I came to fulfill, like to bring it to the full, the law and what the prophets say. I came to bring it to the full, what the law says and what the prophet says. And Listen, not even the smallest part, not one jot nor tittle shall pass away from the law in any wise till all of it be fulfilled. I just came to bring it to the full. Because what you saw in the past, listen, that was in part. That was in part. That was a shadow of what's coming. Well, I came to bring it to the full. And ain't nothing gonna pass away from it until it all of it is fulfilled. Yeah. Heaven and earth pass away, but my word will not pass away. Now, whose word was he speaking? Was he speaking his own words? Or was he speaking the words that was given to him to speak? Based on his testimony, whose words was he speaking? Was he speaking his own words? Or was he speaking the words that was given to him by the one that sent him? See, the one that was sent was speaking the words of the one that sent him. So if you're going to believe what he says, then believe what he says. Don't twist what he said so that you convince yourself in your own mind that you don't have to pay that toll. You don't have to pay the price. No, you got to pay the price. You got to pay the price. You say, well, he paid it all. He paid it for me. No, he finished his work. He finished exactly what he was supposed to do. And that was an example for you. That was an example. I'll show you. Not only do I tell you what you should do, okay? I tell you what you should do. This is what you should do. Okay? Here's the law. Here's the Torah. Here's the Torah. Here's the law. Okay? This is what you should do. If you do this, if a man live by this, okay? This is the law, which is if a man live by, okay? And he shall live in them. Okay? What I always like to say is just like this is basically what I'm saying. Okay? If a man live by this, he shall live. Okay? Okay? And these things right here, these things, this law. Okay? Which if a man do, he shall live by them. Okay? The most quoted thing in the Bible. Most repeated thing in the Bible. Which if a man do, he shall live by them. Okay? But now that's what God says. That's what I say. But you let a man convince you. Let somebody else convince you. You let the words of a man convince you over the word of God that the law can't bring life. No, the law brings death. And you let a man convince you that the law, okay, killeth. The letter killeth. The letter kills. You let doctrine convince you that the spirit and the law are somehow opposed to one another. Like the spirit has nothing to do with the law. When the law was written by the hand of Elohim. Well, what kind of spirit are you talking about that has nothing to do with the law? What kind of spirit are you talking about? Because the law, the Torah, the instruction, yeah, that brings life. That's the word of Elohim. That's what Elohim says. Because if you live by this, then you'll live. So what spirit is that you're talking about? You're like the spirit. The spirit is no. What kind of spirit are you talking about that's against the law? Because you're convinced of something that's the very opposite of what Elohim says. As you're talking about a spirit that brings life but goes against the law. So you're believing the opposite of what Elohim says. So you're in the same position that Adam and you call her Eve. You're in the same position that Adam and Eve were in when Elohim says, listen, if you eat this fruit, okay, in the day that you do, you're going to die. But there's another voice that you're listening to, another voice that you believe that says, nah, you won't surely die. He just knows that when you eat that fruit, you'll be like him. You'll be like God. You'll be like a God. It'll just make you wise. And it's good for food. You listen to that voice. You're not listening to the one that says, listen, if you eat this in the day that you do, you're going to die. And the people say, well, Adam and Eve didn't die, so the serpent was telling the truth. No. See, from beginning to end, nobody knows everything that Elohim does. Can't figure it out. Can't see it all. You know why? One of the number one reasons why? Because you weren't there. You weren't there. That's why you can't figure it out from beginning to end. That's why it's best for you to believe the one that tells the truth. Because Adam and Eve did die the very day, that same day that they ate of the fruit. They died. But the hidden things belong to Elohim. They died. But guess who was in the garden? Guess who showed up in the garden? Elohim. And guess what he can do? He can give life. He can take it. And he can give it again. He can bring back from death. Oh, you don't believe it? Well, there's a story in that New Testament. Okay? Story in the New Testament that a lot of people love. Okay? And there's a man named Lazarus. Okay? And the messenger, the one that was sent, okay, that didn't come to do his own works, okay, didn't come to speak his own words. That messenger that was sent, what did he do? Well, the story tells you, raised him from death. Well, how was he able to do that? Well, let me tell you. I ain't come to do my own works. It's the one that sent me. He does these things. He does these things. He's in me. He's in me. He does these things. I do his works. I speak his words. This is the testimony. This is the truth. And if you would stop just listening to the things that tingle your ears, the pleasing sounds that you like, that fit in and let you convince yourself that the way you want to do it is all okay. Because as long as I convince myself that it's okay, then it's okay. You know what that's called? That's called self-deception. It's called being self-deceived. You know what that is? That's trying not to pay the price. That's not wanting to pay the toll. I want what he has, but I don't want to pay the price that he paid to get it. No. It says walk in every way as he walked. Walk in every way as he walked. You want what he has and what he received, but you don't want to do what he did in order to get it. You don't want to pay the price of obedience to receive the gift of life like he did. So he came, he showed you the example of what you should do. And you say, well, as long as he did it, as long as he obeyed, then I'm good. You would be good. You would be good if you did like he did. You would be good. You say, well, I'm washed, I'm covered in his blood. Well, that blood is not having any effect on you. You're covered in the blood. Listen. Being covered in blood, for a human being, okay, that should be a shocking experience to be covered in blood. That should be it's not a usual thing. It's not a usual thing. It should be a disturbing thing. It should disturb your normal activity, being covered in blood. If I'm walking out in the street, all of a sudden somebody's blood splashes all over me, I'm not just going to carry on my day doing like nothing happened, just doing whatever I was doing before like normal. No, this is something significant. This is something significant now. I'm walking down the street. All of a sudden, somebody's blood splashes all over me. And I know that blood, look, that's the life force of a person. Life is in the blood. All of a sudden, this blood covered somebody's whole life. It just covered me. I'm covered in the blood. I'm covered in their blood. Well, I got to be crazy. I had to be, something not quite right. If I just keep carrying on, whatever that I was doing before, like normal, like that didn't even matter. It doesn't matter if somebody's blood just splashed all over me. I'm just gonna keep on carrying on. That don't matter to me. I don't care nothing about their life and their blood being all over me. I'm just gonna continue to carry on my day the way I was doing before. I don't even need to stop and look and see what happened, what was going on. I'm covered in the blood. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep carrying on doing what I was doing before. No, that should be a disturbing thing. It's not normal. It's something very strange, something very weird, something wayward. Okay? Something very wayward about that reaction of, I got covered in his blood. I'm just going to continue on my day like nothing happened. I'm reminded of the days of, PETA and people who were very, adamant about animal rights. And, one of the things they used to do was take blood or paint, which looked like blood, and they see somebody with a fur coat, they go throw that paint on them on their coat to remind them something had to die for that fur, that coat you're wearing. People really cared about that a whole lot. Well, and that was a way to get, to shock people, to get their attention, to wake them up. This blood should be a shocking thing. You shouldn't be, because listen, blood stays in your body. Typically, blood stays in your body, and it's in there and it's doing its work. Okay. But when it starts to come out your body, that means something. That's a signal. It means something. A woman gets her cycle for the first time, it means something. It's a signal. It means something. When blood come out your body, you should probably start paying attention. If blood coming out somebody else's body, okay, and it splashes on you and it gets you, just probably pay attention to what's going on. It means something. So blood on you should be a disturbing thing. That should interrupt whatever it is that you were doing before. You're aware that you're in this blood. That should be shocking. That should interrupt. That should disturb your normal activity. It should have a change on whatever it is that you were doing before. It should disturb things. It should interrupt your walk. It should have an effect on whatever it is you were doing before. Because this is a disturbing event. This is something I should pay attention to. I mean, that's, I don't know if there's such thing as common sense. But there certainly is a common expected norm of behavior among people that you can reasonably expect a person that gets splashed with blood, okay, that they might not just treat that as something to just ignore. So the people that are claiming, listen, I'm covered in the blood, I don't have to worry about keeping the law. You covered in the blood. That blood where did it come from? Where did it come from? Because that's the life force of somebody. That blood is on you? Yeah? What kind of life did they live? What kind of life did they live? What were they doing? What were they about? What is it you should learn from that? Yeah, what kind of example were they for you? Oh, it didn't mean anything to you? Their life didn't mean anything to you? Their blood on you doesn't mean it? Because listen, there's a couple of different ways you can have blood on you. There's a couple of different ways that you can have blood on you. And all of the ways that having blood on you doesn't mean that everything's going to be okay. Because if I murder somebody, okay, that person is innocent, their blood is on me, that doesn't mean that everything's going to be okay for me. But guess what? If I'm an innocent bystander and I see somebody else getting murdered and that person is right next to me and their blood splatters on me, but I tell the truth, I testify the truth of what happened to that person. Your blood, that person's blood got splattered on me, and they didn't do a thing wrong. They were innocent. I saw them. I know what happened. Their blood is on me. It splattered on me, but I saw they didn't deserve what they got. The one who did it, that's the one that's guilty. And I testify that truth. That's a whole different scenario of having blood on me. Being covered in blood might be for your benefit. It might not. Just saying I'm covered in the blood doesn't mean that you're automatically not guilty, that you're off the hook. Whoever taught you that is wrong. That's why not many of you should be teachers. That's why you need to be aware of false prophets and false teachers. Then they got another excuse. They got another hall pass. Phony hall pass. They say, well, I'm under the blood and I'm under grace too. Oh, you think under grace means that you're just automatically okay? No. Let me tell you about grace. Grace means that you're not getting what it is that you should get. Grace means that although justice says you deserve this, justice says you deserve death. But because of grace, we're going to hold off on that. Because of grace. I'm going to show you some mercy. Because of grace. And the grace that I'm showing you, well, the grace is sufficient for you. And you say, well, I got sufficient grace. I got grace. I'm up on the grace. Great. I'm going to go do the same thing that I did before that got me in trouble. That I needed grace for. I'm just going to keep. Listen, I murdered somebody, but there was grace. And I didn't get what I deserved. So, you know what? I'm going to go out here. I'm going to murder somebody else because I'm up under grace. And I don't got to worry about keeping those laws. I'm up under grace. I got grace. I'm up under grace. I'm not up under the law. I'm up under grace now. So I don't have to worry about keeping the law. Like I could just keep doing what I was doing before. Like the blood, it doesn't have an effect on my walk. And the grace, it doesn't have an effect on my walk. I can just keep doing the same thing that I was doing before because of these things. Because of the blood. The blood don't matter. The life that the blood came from, it don't matter. That doesn't have to have an effect on me. I can just keep going same path, same way, same exact thing I was doing before. Because of the grace, I don't have to stop stealing. I don't have to pay attention to any of the things that the Almighty Elohim, creator of the universe, said these things are righteous, the wisest one. I don't have to pay attention to anything that he said is right to do. Because he's full of grace. So I can just continue to do everything that he said is wrong because he's so gracious. He's so loving. He's so, he's so sweet. Well, I am loving. I am full of grace. I'm also terrible. And my name is terrible. I've also said vengeance is mine. Don't forget that. Don't leave that part out. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. Good? Yeah, I do that. Evil? Calamity? Yeah, I cause that too. Light? Yeah, I cause that. Darkness? I cause that too. Don't forget, I hate a false balance. And you think that only applies to a real balance and measures of barley and wheat and food and things of this nature, you think that's the only thing that applies to? When I say I hate a false balance, you think that has no moral application? You think that you can just continue to do the way that you want to do it? Be out of balance. Be unjust. Be unlawful. Put the things of the world before the spiritual things. It's all going to be okay. Because there's grace. Well, the grace is sufficient. The grace is sufficient grace. To pay attention to sufficient. It's sufficient. There's an implication that comes with that. The way that that's worded. The grace is sufficient. It means it's enough. It's enough to cover about as much as needs to be covered. It's sufficient. It's enough. It's enough to cover what it needs to cover. His grace is sufficient. It doesn't say anything. It's not. The implication is not the grace is inexhaustible. No, that's not the idea. That's the idea that people have convinced themselves of. The grace is inexhaustible. The grace is everlasting. The grace is eternal. I'm always going to be up under grace. I'm always going to be up under grace. I'm never going to have to pay the price. I'm never going to have to pay the toll. I'm never going to have to pay the piper. No, that's not what it says. That's not the idea. That's not the implication. The idea is that the grace is sufficient. The grace is enough to cover your foibles, cover your mistakes, your unintentional sin. The grace is sufficient because I understand that you're in a world that has been full of sin for a long time. And you might get wrapped up in that. You might get caught up in that. And the sin doesn't want to let you go. It's not going to let you go easily. It's going to hold on to you. The book of Ecclesiastes puts it this way. It's like an army. It's like an army. It's like we're in times of war now. We're in times of war. And the army, the military, listen. They're not going to release you. They're not going to let you out while we're in the middle of a war. No, this ain't the time for you, to get discharged and to go on. No, we in the middle. We need you right now. We really need you right now. It's not really how the army, military. It's not how they work. We're not trying to release you at the time we're in the middle of the war. It's like, no, man, maybe you can leave later on. Maybe you can leave later on. Not right now, though. And the sin is likened to that, to the military, to the army. No, it's not easily trying to let you go. It's like we're in the middle of the war right now. Now, maybe later you can go, but not right now. Now, no, it's not going to easily let you go. That sin. So the grace is sufficient. It's like, okay, maybe you're struggling with this thing, but for you to take on the mentality that, listen, this is how it is. This is how it is. I'm a sinner. I can't be perfect. I can't be perfect. I see the example. Yeah. He was perfect. Yeah, he was perfect, but he was God. When in fact he wasn't. God was in him. He wasn't God. God was in him, moving in him, causing him to be, causing him to do, causing him to say. You say, well, I can't be like that. Even though what's written, it says, be perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect. Or you think God can only do it for one and can't do it for another? So you put that limitation on God because you think you're so limited? No. If God was in you and the Spirit of God was in you, you'd fully be able to do that. You could be perfect. If you go and you look in the scripture and you really see, it's like, was he perfect? Was he perfect? Or did he learn through obedience? And was he the only one that was perfect, or is there other ones that are called perfect in the Bible? Are there other people that are described as being perfect, or was Jesus the only one? Because the popular opinion, the prevalent opinion, is that Jesus, yahuah, he's the only one that was perfect, and nobody else is perfect. He said, listen, why do you call me good? There's nothing good but the Father. Why are you calling me good? But the mental acrobatics that people do to get around everything that he said. They do mental aerobics and gymnastics to twist it into what they wanted to say, to what they wanted to be, what they wanted to mean. Reading into it what they want to be there. This is what they do. They won't accept sound doctrine. It's all about what they want to hear. They're bending over backwards to try to make it be what they want it to be, and they're not nimble enough. They're going to end up breaking their back. They're going to end up breaking a vertebrae the way they're bending over backwards to try to make it be what they want it to be. They're going to be crushed. They're going to be crushed by this rock of offense. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to end up happening. It's a stumbling block, a rock of offense. And just look. If you trust in this, if you trust in it, okay, you're gonna be okay. But if you trust in it, then you're going to listen. You're going to hear what's actually being said. You're going to hear those words, my words, that are being spoken. If you trust in it, then you're going to be okay. But if you convince yourself of something that's not true, and you call that trusting in it, then no. That's not trusting in it. That's trusting in your own vain imagination, your own vain thoughts, your own self-deception. Because you're not willing to hear the truth. And you would rather receive a lie. See, the only ones that are deceived are the ones who are ready and eager and willing to adopt a lie. Because they hate the truth. Because they hate me. They're ready to give my glory away to a rock of offense, to an idol. They're ready to give my glory to something other than me, to their own vain imaginations, to their own thoughts. They're ready to give my glory away because they don't rejoice in the truth, because they haven't sought after wisdom. It's for hidden treasure. Because they're not willing to study to show themselves approved. They just want to accept what some man says. They're willing to accept any old doctrine. Give me any old God. Give me any old idol. Give me any old celebration. I don't care where it comes from, as long as it makes me feel good. As long as it makes me happy. I don't care what no God, creator of heaven and earth, has to say about it. I'm just doing what makes me feels good. Okay. They like Halle Berry. They're in a desperate position. Make me feel good. And any old thing would do. Whatever substance I can put in my system. However I can distract myself. I can just eat myself to death. Long as I feel good. I don't care what kind of food I eat. Long as I feel good. Whole time they're killing themselves through disobedience. The entire time they're doing what's not going to make them feel good in the end. The whole time they think they're living life. They think they're gaining something. They think they're gaining life. Whole time, everything they're doing is just death. They're eating death. Inhaling death. They're holding on and adhering to death. They're embracing it, taking it into their bosom. Death. All because they don't love the truth, won't rejoice in it. They love the lies. The lies are comfortable. So accustomed to it. So accustomed to untruth. So accustomed to whatever environment they grew up in. And grandma used to have a saying, don't lay down. Don't lay down with no pigs and dirt. You're going to get dirty. Or was it dogs? Some kind of animal. I don't remember. Let me see. What she used to say? You lay down with dogs and dirt, you're going to get dirty. So what you're supposed to get out of it is don't lay down with dogs and dirt, so you don't get dirty. And the idea was you get accustomed to the ones that you deal with, the things that you deal with, the things that you grow up in and around, and the influence that you have. Lay down with dogs and dirt, you're going to get dirty. Something to that effect. I still don't think that's exactly what she used to say. But the idea was, it might have been you play around in dirt, you're going to get dirty. Something to that effect. I'm thinking about a lot of different things. Thinking about parables and prodigal son and pigs and mud, and all of that is related. It's all tied together. But yeah, that's how you get dirty. You want to get clean? You have to change up the things that are around you. You're going to have to change up your environment. The first environment that you need to change is not the one that's external. It's the one that's internal. Because if you change your internal environment, then your external environment will follow it. You change your mindset. Okay? It's like the renewing of the mind. If you let your mind be renewed, then the things that's on the outside of you, they're going to have to change too. There's a post I made on Facebook some time ago, years ago. I took a picture. I walked into the Lakeview building at Beckman Coulter. I saw a picture that had been put up, I guess you'd call it a mural, a painting, a picture that was painted on the wall, and it said, "Innovation is in our DNA." I took a picture of that. I like that. It says innovation is our DNA, and a person's holding up, I think they're holding up their fingers. Something like that. I think they got glasses on. I don't know. I got to go back and look at it. But I like that. The company was going through some changes at the time, and and put up, little reminders around everybody. Think outside the box. And little reminders here, and the little paintings and murals. And I walked into that building in Lakeview, and I saw that one, and I liked it. I took a picture of it, and I posted it, and I said, look, if you change the way you look at things, it just might change the way things look. And what I understood from that was, it doesn't matter what your current environment or circumstances is, what your current circumstances are. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what environment you grew up in. Doesn't matter what kind of lies you were taught. Doesn't matter who told you it was okay to do the wrong thing when you know it's the wrong thing. because it's all just going to be okay. Doesn't matter what kind of lies someone told you. Doesn't matter what your environment is, how muddy it is, how mucked up it is. You change the way that you look at things, then the way that things look will change. And I go back to the prodigal son. Listen, he's with some pigs and he's in the mud. This is a situation he ended up in because his mindset wasn't right. His mindset was wrong. He was selfish. He was too eager. He was too entitled. Didn't have enough understanding. Put himself in a bad situation. One day he wakes up or finds himself in a circumstance that he knows I was never meant for this. This is not how I was when I was with my father. When I was with my father, I had it good. Now look at me. Look at me now. I'm covered in mud. I'm living with the pigs and this slop. It's not what I'm accustomed to. We started to look at that situation different. Started to look at things different. Started to realize, like, this is not it. I got to return to my father. I got to go back to my father. Because this is not okay. This is not the situation that I'm accustomed to. This is not what's good. It's like, yeah, I'm here in this situation. But it's not okay. Something's wrong. It's off. It's not quite right. Let me return to my father. So that maybe I didn't have this thing right. I thought I had it right. But let me return to my father. Because things not looking right. Start to look at the situation that he was in. And he could have accepted what was. We started to look at the situation different, changed the way he's looking at what he was in. Came to the realization that what he was surrounded by, what he was in, that wasn't it. Wasn't what he wanted. So what did he have to do? He had to return to his father. So that the situation would start to look different for him. And that's the way it is. If you change the way that you look at things, the way that things look around you will change. You wondering why you're going through pain. You wonder why you're suffering. You're wondering why things aren't going right. Maybe you should try to do something different. Maybe you should be bold enough to try something that, truth be told, you're kind of afraid to get into. Now, I'm sure he was afraid to return to his father. Because what if my father doesn't welcome me with open arms? Like, I messed up. I was so full of pride when I left. I was so arrogant and sure and cocky, sure of myself when I left. I just knew I was going to take my inheritance early. I was going to take my right, my will to choose. I was going to go out and I was going to do it my way. And everything's going to be okay. Now, things didn't turn out okay. I hit rock bottom. And things are not okay. Well, I don't have any choice at this point. I got to go back to my father. Because I know if I do that, then things are going to be okay. But I'm sure there's some nagging doubt. You know, what if I get back to my father and, you know, he's like, I told you so. You know, what if he don't accept me back? What if he's harsh to me? So you're afraid to go back and do something to better your situation. You're afraid to try something that different from what you've been doing, even though what you're doing is obviously not working. It's obviously not fulfilling you. It's supposed to be covering up that pain. It's supposed to be filling that hole in your heart. But it's not. That's why you have to keep going back to it. You're getting drunk. You got to keep getting drunk. You're shooting up drugs in your veins. You got to keep doing that. Because that little high, that little fix, yeah, it lasts for a minute, but then it's gone again. Satisfied for a moment, but then it's gone again. I got to keep going back to it. And I know it's not really good for me. I know it's really killing me. But I got to keep going back to it because that's the only time I got some relief from this pain. The whole time, the answer is to go back to your father. But you can't go back to your father because look what I'm doing. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I know God said turn away from wrath and from anger. But truth be told, like that, that's where I get my satisfaction from. I get a kick out of getting angry. I get a high from that in my brain. I enjoy be able to release like that. So I ain't doing what the Father said. How can I go back to? How can I go to him? How can I go to him when I keep doing all this stuff? The whole time, that hole in your heart, that space that needs to be filled up, Father, the only one that can do it. Placed eternity in your heart. Well, the eternal one is me. All those little temporary solutions, those things you got to keep going back to. Topical. Not really taking care of what's on the inside. Just topical solutions. Yeah, it's not going to get it. But if you just return to your Father, then everything is going to look again the way that it's supposed to look. Then you're going to lay down and rest in peace. Then you're going to go out in peace and come back in peace. Then you're going to be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. Yeah, go check it. Go check my word. Go check and see if it's a promise about that. Deuteronomy, check it. The chapter is 30. Go check out and see what the blessings are. Go see what the prerequisite is to the blessings. Yeah, it's about returning to your Father. A lot of you scared to do that. But everything that was sent for a reason. Everything that was taught for a reason. You think it's just for the generation back then? No. It's for the generations to come. It's for this generation to understand. Taught in parables, then I teach you plainly now. Mysteries then, but the mysteries being revealed now. How manifold my wisdom. Yeah, it's one thing that Saul said right. How manifold my wisdom. How foolish to go against it. Some of you you're like a person just banging your head against a wall, brick wall. You're just banging your head against a brick wall. And then you're wondering why you have a headache. Every day you get up, you're just banging your head against the wall. Then you go throughout your day and you're wondering, why do I have this headache? I saw a video on Facebook. There's a little baby. When you first watch the video, looks like the baby is stuck behind a door. The baby's stuck behind a door, it looks like. And the baby is crying. So you think, why is somebody videotaping this baby crying? The baby's obviously stuck behind the door. Why don't you help the baby get from where the place that is obviously stuck? The baby's stuck. Don't just videotape, go help the baby. So the person behind the camera, the parent, continues to videotape. Then you see the parent pulls the door open, and the baby is no longer stuck behind the baby. The baby wasn't really stuck to begin with. Well, the baby stops crying. And then the baby pulls the door right back to the position it was in, gets behind the door. It looks like the baby's stuck again behind the door, and the baby starts crying again. And it's like, okay, what happens if I open the door up again so the baby's not stuck? The baby goes right back and grabs the door again, pulls the door right back to the same position, climbs back behind the door, and commences to cry again. And it's like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, what are you doing, baby? What are you doing? There's clearly nothing wrong with you. You're clearly not stuck. But you are getting back in that position and crying as though you need help. But you keep putting yourself in that position. Some of you are just banging your head against the wall daily, wondering why you have a headache. And you're like that baby. You keep putting yourself in the position. And then you're crying for help. As if you can't get out of the position that you're so-called stuck in. And then there's people looking. There's people on the outside looking, and they're going, why doesn't God fix this? Why doesn't God? And there's people accusing God. It's accusing me, saying, listen, they're like the devil's advocate. They're like the devil's advocate. What Al Pacino, the character that he's playing, says, listen, he's an absentee landlord. Praise that? Never. Like I didn't give you the right instruction. Like I didn't make a way out for you. Like I didn't give you intelligence and understanding and the right path. So praise that? Never. Meanwhile, you're doing it to yourself. Meanwhile, you're putting yourself in that position. Meanwhile, you made the decision to go against what I told you was good. You're like that baby, putting yourself in that position, then crying, woe is me. Why does God allow evil in the world? If you kept my law, you would live. Not only that, the person next to you could live in peace. If you kept my ways, if you kept my Torah, then you would have life and you would have it to the full. No. Nobody sent anyone to abolish the law. What kind of sense does it make? What kind of sense does it make that I'm going to come down here and I'm going to fully obey the law just so that the law can be abolished? I'm going to fully obey the law just to make the law go away. I'm going to fully obey the law so that you can come to the understanding that you don't have to obey the law. I mean, come on. Look at the mental gymnastics that you have to go through. I think there's a concept. I think it's called Occam's razor. It kind of goes like this. Listen, sometimes the simplest explanation, okay, that's probably going to be the right one. Is that Occam's razor? I don't know. Maybe it's not. I think Occam's razor is more something like, if something can happen, it will happen. Yeah, I think that's right. But anyway, somehow those two things are related. At least in my mind, they are. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna study that and I'm gonna find out about that. But I guess as a good rule of thumb, it's kind of like, you know what? Sometimes the simplest explanation, that's the one you probably should go with. And so when it comes to Yahushua, Hamashiach, okay, coming down, Son of Man, coming down, okay, because he said, here am I, I'll go. Okay, so he sent a willing servant, and he comes, okay, and he's keeping the law, and he's obeying the law, okay, he's keeping the law, he's obeying the law. He's showing the meaning of the law. What's the real heart? What we really trying to get to with the law? Is the law trying to keep you from doing good? No. The law's not trying to keep you from doing good. The law is good. You should keep it and you should follow it. You shouldn't trade the law for the traditions of men. Let me show you the nature of the law. Let me show you what it really means. Let me show you how your teachers have twisted it to mean something else and to be subject to their traditions and to their reasoning and to their explanations, their hermeneutics. Let me show you how your teachers have twisted it and made it vain, of no effect. Let me show you. So this is what the messenger did. This is what he was sent to do. But you let the world convince you otherwise because you wouldn't critically think about the words that he spoke and what they meant. You rather listen. I'm gonna do it the easy way. I'm gonna do it the easy way. What feels easy for me. It's real easy. I just go to church. I sit there and I let somebody else speak for an hour. Okay, hour and a half, 2 hours. If you're in a black church, maybe 30 minutes if you're in a white church, right? Okay, but I let somebody else speak. I let somebody else do the thinking for me. And I leave the church and I feel good about myself on a Sunday, which is not the Sabbath. I leave out feeling like I've done my duty. Okay, and I just come back and do it again next week. And that's it. And that's religion. That's religion. Meanwhile, the whole time, you're like that baby after you leave. After you leave, you go back to continuing to put yourself in a position that's not fulfilling, that's not really satisfying. And you keep putting yourself in that position, and then you get there and you start crying because this is not satisfying. This is not fulfilling to me. And you're not fulfilling the law. You're not doing what's asked of you. You're not doing the right thing. But you say, I'm up under the blood. And I'm up under grace, so I can just continue to do this same old thing that's not satisfying me. But I'm getting comfortable. I'm getting real comfortable with this thing that is really not satisfying to me. I don't want you to help me with that door that I'm struggling with, because I would really rather just continue. I'd rather continue to be in this. I'm comfortable here. I'm real comfortable right here. Yeah, it's not satisfying. Yeah, it's causing me to cry. Yeah, it's not fulfilling me. But I know what to expect right here. I'm okay. I'm okay with this. I'm just going to stay. Don't help me with that door. I'm just going to go back to this this thing that I have to keep coming back to. That's not satisfying. And I'm just going to cry. Because that's what I've gotten comfortable with. That's where I'm comfortable being. It's not really comfortable, but in a way, I'm okay with it. I am comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. I've gotten satisfied with being unsatisfied. I don't have the courage to get out of this comfortable place. I'm too afraid of being uncomfortable and doing something else. So I'm going to stay right here in this uncomfortable place. This, I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm going to stay right here. And that's why you keep going back to the drugs. That's why you keep going back to the alcohol. That's why you keep going back to the porn. That's why you keep going back to that person that's toxic. That's why you keep going back to engaging in anger. That's why you keep going back to that person that beat you. That's why you keep going back to all these ways of sin, even though somewhere inside you really feel like, I know God is not happy with this. I know Elohim is not happy with this. But hey, I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm too afraid to step outside of my comfort zone. Listen, joy is on the other side of the comfort. I'm talking about that uncomfortable that you become comfortable with. Because listen, here's an option. You're the prodigal son. And you can get comfortable with those pigs. You can get comfortable with being muddy. You can accept that. You can accept that. And you can live that life. And eventually, you might even turn it into something good. You might even turn it. Listen, you might build up some muscle. You might build up something good out of that bad eventually. But the fastest way, the prodigal son knew, listen, the fastest way for me to get out of this, to better my situation, because, he kind of liked doing things fast. He liked doing things. He was eager to get things done quickly. He was like, the fastest way to get out of this is to return to my father. That's going to be the fastest way to change the way these things are looking. Because, he wanted things right now. He wasn't about waiting around. He wasn't about waiting around for a long time to better his situation. So sometimes the same characteristics that can be a vice, they can be a virtue as well. It all depends on how you're applying it. Because when you line up those characteristics with your father, you put those characteristics in alignment with your father, then what turns out to be a vice in one situation, it can be a virtue in a whole nother situation. So the prodigal son, he was eager. He was eager to make his situation better, and that's okay. That's okay. I want you to have good things. I want you to prosper. That's why I give you good instruction. That's why I give wisdom. That's why I give understanding. That's why I give you parameters to safeguard you, to be a hedge about you. I want you to have good. I want you to have life and have it more abundantly, to the full. I want you to have that. So it's okay for you to desire that, to have the desire for something good in your life. But if you really want it, there's some things I've set up. There's some things that I've put in place. There's some order. And there's some ways that things are done that are going to be best for you if you do it this way. And you can insist and you can go against that, but you might find yourself in a really uncomfortable situation. But hey, listen, the grace is sufficient. The grace is sufficient. You find yourself in that uncomfortable situation, you don't have to stay there. That's not the life that's meant for you. You're a child of the Father. There's things that set up for you. I have an inheritance set up for you. There's things that I've put in place for you ahead of time. I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So the wisest thing that the prodigal son did was be just as eager as he was. Just as eager as he was to go out and to leave. He was just as eager to come back to his father. It's written, listen, just like you thought to leave me, now seek me 10 times greater than that. Be more eager to come back to me, just like you thought to leave me. Be 10 times more eager to return to me so that you can be embraced with open arms. So that my joy can be complete. Because I desire for you to have good. So you got your options. And That prodigal son, he could have stayed out there. And like I said, he could have turned that bad and negative situation. He could have stayed out there. He could have fought it out on his own. It's quite possible he could have eventually come to some understanding. Because look at Jacob, Yahuah. Now Yahuah went into a situation where he's with his uncle. He's with his uncle. And he had to do some work out there. He wasn't working with no pigs. Okay? Working with different livestock, goats. But what Yahuah did was he was diligent. Diligent in his duties. And he found a way to be of service. Found a way to be useful. Found a way to be useful in that situation. Whereas he could have shirked his responsibility. He could have not been diligent, not useful in the things that he was doing. But he became useful. He became inexpendable because he was of service, and he ended up prospering from that. And there's something else about Yahuah. He understood things that were precious. He understood things that were to be desired. He placed importance on them. He desired those things. Sought after them, found ways to get them. Not always in the best way. But nonetheless, he placed value on the important thing. Well, prodigal son, he could have done that. He could have found a way to be useful and diligent, even though he's dealing with pigs. Even though he's dealing with the muck and the mud, he could have found a way to be of great service and diligent and to turn that negative, bad situation. Listen, if you change the way you look at things, and you can change the way that things look. Because imagine, let's do hypotheticals here. Let's do hypotheticals. And let's say Yahuah looked at his situation, Yasharal. Say he looked at his situation and said, man, I'm here. I got to be, doing this kind of work, working with these animals, and woe is me. Woe is me. I got to do this work. I got to, I got to be like a servant, like a slave. And if he was looking at the situation in a negative way, and if he was like, slacking on it, then he wouldn't have had the same benefit, same reward that he ended up getting. He wouldn't become favored to his uncle because of his benefit and his usefulness. If he had looked at the situation and said, look, this is not for me. This is beneath me having to do this work. If he had took that mentality, then he wouldn't have received the same benefits that he ended up receiving. Wouldn't have been able to work out the same deal that he was able to work out. So listen, whatever situation you find yourself in, okay, there's a way out. There's a way out of it. I worked for a long time as a engineer, mechanical engineer. Not a long time, saying long, everything's relative, right? So, but I worked for a number of years as an engineer. And I went to Greensboro to pursue one of my wives. And this is something we talked about before it ever happened. I was to get a job at Mickey Truck Bodies. And I got the job at Mickey Truck Bodies. And I remember in the interview, one of the guys, he was a younger guy, not long out of college, I believe, if I remember correctly. And he asked me a question, about how I go about solving problems. And he gives me a scenario of an issue. It's like an engineering, this is a technical question. And he asked me, if you had this scenario, you had this problem, how would you begin? How would you start to begin to solve this problem? And I thought about the question he asked me, and I was like, well, I want to give you the entire truth of how I really do this, how I really solve problems. And I say, well, there's really two parts to how I need to answer your question. There's a technical portion of it, but then there's also a philosophical portion to it. Or maybe, it's also spiritual as well. And I say, listen, I believe in the power of words. And I believe in the power of thoughts. So when I face a problem, okay, I kind of learned this. I learned this as I was growing up. Math was one of my favorite subjects. Math was one of my favorite subjects. And one of the reasons it was my favorite subjects. All right, I have to pause right here. I got to pause, and I have to get to something. So I watched this movie. The guy he's a reporter. And he comes across a guy that says he's God. And so he's going to go do an interview. He's going to go do an interview with the guy that says he's God. And one of the first things he asks him, he's like, "You're God?" And then he gives him a math problem. And he's like, "Well, how much is 220,000 times 335,000, yada yada yada, something like that, right?" And the guy gives him the answer, it's the correct answer. He's like, "Oh man, all right." So I remember watching that, and I was like, that's really what people think. Like, why do people really think that? I was like, why does everybody think that that's the way to find out if God is God? Like, to ask him a bunch of math problems. It's hilarious to me. And, I think it's, but it's such a paradox though, because math is one of my favorite subjects. But I was like, why people think that that's the way to find out if God is God, to give him a math problem? It's like, because here's the thing, okay? There are people in the world, okay, who have this gift and this ability that you can just give them all types of math problems and questions, And and their brains work like calculators. You know, there are people in the world like this. So I find it hilarious. I'm like, why do people think that's the way to find out if God is God? Is to give God a math problem. And if he's able to answer whatever math problem I give, whatever random math problem I give, then okay, I'll believe that and I'll be convinced that that's God. But the paradox is here. Math really is one of my favorite subjects. It really is. One of my favorite areas of knowledge. One of my favorite subjects is really myself, you know. Like, I find myself fascinating. I really do. But one of my favorite areas of knowledge is mathematics. I do appreciate math. But so yeah, so anyway, now let me get back to what was I saying? Then I'm talking about equations and it's all mathematics, and yeah, I guess I can understand that a little bit because I really do like math. So yeah, that brings me back to the subject. So, you know, growing up, I studied math. Okay, I went to when I was at Shaw University. I was there to be a mathematics major. Okay, and then I went to engineering. Okay, that's where I decided I wanted to do was engineering. And so, but like way back, probably in like, I don't know, probably around high school, probably around the time that I was doing geometry, after algebra, maybe even during algebra, I would do these problems and I'll look at the problem. And sometimes you come across a problem and the problem looks so difficult. And it's just like, you got to control your thoughts. Okay? Because they really affect how you feel, your encouragement versus your discouragement. You know, so you don't feel discouraged. That reminds me of Chrissy. Yeah, I gotta talk about Chrissy later. Chrissy and Shanae. But yeah, I'm gonna post about that later on. But but yeah, you gotta control your thoughts. So he's asking me like, how you deal with these problems? I'm like, yeah. And I'm telling him this story. Like, you know, when I was in, you know, math was one of my favorite subjects, and sometimes I used to come across problems, and you know, like sometimes there's a temptation to tell yourself, you know, that there is no solution to this problem, like because the solution is not readily apparent at first. Tell me, if you psych yourself out is what happens. You psych yourself out and you say it's impossible. And then when you tell yourself that, you really lose the ability to start looking for alternatives to the situation at hand. You really stop really looking, because if you've already told yourself that it's impossible, there is no solution to the problem, then you psyched yourself out, and you're listening to yourself. You're listening to yourself when you tell yourself that. And so your mind really stops, you know, if I told myself there's no solution, listen, my mind is like, on some level, on maybe a subconscious level, my mind is like, you just said there's no solution to the problem. Why am I going to continue to start to look for a solution when I just told myself there's no solution? When I just told myself that it can't be fixed. I just told myself that there's no solution. And I come to understand that when I was doing math, I was like, you know what? I realized that they gave me a problem to practice on. Somebody thought about it before time. Somebody thought about it early. And that's a whole nother subject. Somebody thought about this before time. They gave me the problem. The answer to these problems are in the back of the book, to some of them. Some of the problems are in the back of the book. Book I used to have, I think it was set up so that the answer to the odd problems were in the back of the book, but the even problems, there was no answer in the back of the book. So you couldn't check your even problems, whether or not you had the right answer, but the odd problems, you could check whether or not you had the right answer. But anyway, some of these problems, the solutions are in the back of the book. And that means, that told me and I knew that. I also knew that the answer wasn't to cheat and just go look at the back of the book, because that doesn't give me the practice that I actually need of working my way mentally through the problem so that I understand how to arrive at the solution that's in the back of the book. If I just go to the back of the book, look at that answer, I still don't know how to, if I don't come to the understanding, of how to arrive at that solution, then I don't understand how to arrive at that solution. But here's the thing that helps me about it. The thing that that helps me is I know that there is a solution. I know that there's a solution. I know in the back of the book, that's where they keep the answers at. So somebody else figured out this problem. Okay? And in the text, what they've done in the text, this is the key, in the text, they have given me the principles, the concepts, the ideas, okay? Step by step in a progressive way. They kind of laid it out for me in this text of what the actual answer, how to get everything that I need to be able to arrive at the solution. So one of the first things, and I didn't get this deep into it with the guy in the interview, but what I told him was, I kind of learned that when I struggle with problems, not to psych myself out by telling myself that it's impossible. I had that tendency to say, it's impossible. There is no solution. It's impossible to find the answer. I learned that when I did that, it was so much harder for me to find the answer. Instead, when I would start with a problem, I would start with, look, I know there is a solution. I know there's a solution. I know there is a solution to the problem. When I started that way, when I started with the idea that there is a solution, what I realized is that I wasn't psyching myself out. I wasn't telling myself something other than the reality that this problem can be solved. When I started with there is a solution, then my mind started working in a totally different way. Because now my mind is like, you told me there's a solution. And guess what? My mind believes what I tell it. What I tell myself, I tend to believe. That's why it's important to have correct information, accurate information. Because the things that I keep telling myself over and over again, those are the things that I believe. If I keep telling myself a lie over and over again, I start to treat the lie like it's truth. If I tell myself something inaccurate, I will take that inaccuracy and I will treat it like it's accurate. So if I got bad information going in, then what I get, okay, as a function of my life is that I have bad output. Bad in, bad out. Good in, good out. Same with your diet. Same way with food. Same way with your relationships. You got to start to look at your life as a function. Function is something, listen, it's like a machine. If I put the good in, this machine is going to, listen, it's going to take it. It's going to do some things with it. It's going to manipulate what I put in. It's going to give me an output. It's going to give me something else. It's going to give me an output. I put in X, I'm going to get out this Y. Basic understanding of function. Put this in, you'll get this out. So yeah, anyway, the thing was, when I started with the problem and said, listen, there is a solution. That's the number one way that I start with a problem. After I do that, I realize my mind starts to go to work in numerous ways. And all sorts of alternatives, because I believe what I've told myself, that there is a solution to the problem. So my mind, if it's not readily apparent to me, my mind starts searching, start grasping at all types of straws of all types of things that I might not even ever get to. I might not ever get to that even being a possibility. If I told myself from the beginning that it's impossible, that it can't be done, my mind starts searching under every rock, nook, and cranny. My mind starts going, look, when I go to sleep, my mind starts going, well, what about this? And a lot of times that's how the answers really come. Because now my mind still believes what I said. There is a solution to the problem. And so like this showed up in other situations in life where this small principle that I learned during math class and how I was able to find the answers to these math problems easier if I told myself there's a solution. And if it wasn't apparent to me, I go back to the text. Instead of looking for the answer in the back of the book, instead of looking for the shortcut, maybe if it's not apparent to me, maybe there's something I missed. Let me go back to the previous chapters, or to the beginning of this chapter, before I get to the exercise problems. Let me go back to these things that I was supposed to be learning, because maybe I didn't quite grasp something. Maybe I missed something. That's why it's not readily apparent to me. But all these problems that I'm dealing with, they're kind of related to this text. That's how the textbook is set up. The exercise problems you're dealing with right after the lesson are related to the lessons that you had. The text, hint, hint, message, the text is related to the problems. The problems are related to the text. So let me go back to the text. Let me go back to the instruction. Hello? The instruction. Okay? Let me go back to the instructions and see, look, maybe I missed something. Let me that's why I'm dealing with this problem, and it seems like I don't have a solution. But I know it's got to be a solution. Let me go back to the text and see, did I miss something, and try to apply that. And then wow, a whole lot of times I go back to the text and whew, yeah, it's right here. Yeah, it's right here. This is just like, it's different, but it's the same. This is different, but it's very similar to that problem. And I can apply this because this is it's a principle. It's a theorem. It's a law. a lot of theorems. It's a theorem. Okay. It's a definition, a law. Okay. These type of things are what I'm given. It's just like laws, statutes, and commandments. Okay. This right here I'm given, and this helps me solve the problem. And you know what happened? You know what went into these laws, these theorems, these definitions? Some critical thinking. Somebody put some critical thought into this in order to be able to solve problems like this. And that's what I come to appreciate, and what should be appreciated about math, but also about my Torah, also about my law. Some critical thought went into it beforehand. And you might not understand all of that. Like with these theorems and these definitions, and listen, there's a whole lot of proofs and time, and people spend their whole life coming up with these theorems and these definitions. They working on these problems for 50 years, 60, 70, 100 years, hundreds of years, going to finding these definitions, working out these problems, multiple lifetimes, going to understanding and coming up with these solutions. And then it's broken down into something simpler, where you don't have to go through all the proofs to find out if it's legit, okay, or if it works in most situations or in every situation. You don't have to go through all that. All you got to do is understand this part right here, okay? This is where you at, this is where you live, right here, right? So remember that scene from Hitch, okay? The scene from Hitch. And the guy is learning from Hitch, and we're talking about dancing, okay? And he's dancing, and he gets real excited, and he spins around, and Hitch is like, no, slaps him in the face. He's like, no, don't ever do that again. Okay, this is where you live, right here. This two-step. This is where you live. You stay right here. Okay? It's like, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself. That's advanced right there. So the proofs, that's kind of advanced level. You're not ready for that right now. You're not ready for that. This is where you live. You stay right here. You stay right here right now. Don't ever do that again. So that part is just funny to me. Okay, that was just funny. Okay, so you know what? At some point, you want to get loose, you want to have fun and spin around. You might get to that point. You might get to that advanced part, and everything's gonna work out fine for you. You know what I'm saying? Like that might really work for you. Okay, and you can get there. You can do that. But for right now, where you are, you might want to stay with just simpler, okay, broken down part of it, where you're not getting all into the proofs. Okay, you just want to understand this part so that you can deal with the problems right here. So we can exercise solving this level of problems. Okay, and look, just master this part right here first, because that's how it works. If you master this, then you can move on up to some more advanced things. But understand, listen, there was some critical thinking that went into coming up with this. So try to value and appreciate what's right here. This instruction is right here, so that you can deal with these problems. These are the types of problems you can deal with. If you get this down, you can deal with these type of problems. And that's kind of how it works. That's a math book I had. Okay. I'm thinking about my calculus book. I really like that book. Okay. One I had at Shaw University. Okay. The way it's set up, listen, and this is how most math books are set up. Okay. But it's like, when are you coming to the understanding that this is how it's set up? I probably understood it in geometry first, but I remembered it in calculus, and it was like, yeah, this right here is going to be associated with this. If I got a problem solving this problem, I can just go back, and it's just set up nice and chronologically. And you know why? Because some critical thought went into it. It was like, listen, we need to put this part right here. We group these things together so that you learn how to deal with these problems. But if you haven't been paying attention to the chapter and you just try to jump to the problems, then that is not going to make any sense to you. It's not making any sense to you. Not making any sense. And here's the thing that students do a lot. Students, a great deal of the time, they say, the teacher puts a whole bunch of stuff on the test that we never learned in class. I've all this stuff on the test, like we didn't learn that. We didn't teach us that. You might have missed it because it was in the instructions, because it was in the text. And no, the teacher didn't go over that part in class, but the teacher did give you an assignment to go through the text. Read this chapter. But you decided to skip the text, okay? Because you're not trying to do all that due diligence. You're not trying to study. You're not trying to study to show yourself approved. What you want to do is do it the easy way. You just go, listen, I'm just going to sit here in class. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to sit in class, okay? I'm just supposed to sit in class. Maybe I'll take notes. Maybe I won't, okay? And I'm going to let you teach, and I'm going to sit here and watch. Maybe I pay attention. Maybe I don't. Okay. And then you give the assignment. Okay. Go home. When you go home and do your homework, read this chapter, read this, and do these problems for exercise. And you skipped all of that. And then you get to the test and you're like, man, it's not fair. The teacher didn't teach this. Oh, it was taught. And you were led to the instruction. But you skipped all that. That's why you unprepared to deal with the problem. You could have read the text. You could have practiced the problems. And when the test came, you would have been well prepared. When the test came, you would have known fully well how to deal with all this. How do I know this? Because I've been through exactly what I'm telling you about. I've been on both sides of the situation. I've been well prepared for the test. And I've also put myself in a situation where I skipped over the reading this chapter. I skipped over doing the exercise problems so that I come to the understanding of what was supposed to be taught. And then got to the test and was perplexed, puzzled, bamboozled, led amok. Led astray. That's how I felt. Nah, you ain't teach me all this. Oh, but yeah, you did tell me to read this chapter and that chapter. The whole time, listen, I'm mad at the teacher. Nah, man, nah. She ain't teach all this. He ain't teach all this. No. No, wisdom calleth aloud in the streets. Yeah, wisdom's been calling out to you. Wisdom's calling loud in the streets. Do this. Don't do that. Follow this. Don't follow that. Don't miss out on this. Don't miss out on that. But you wouldn't hear. And you didn't want instruction. So you missed all of that. So when the time for the test comes, you're unprepared. And you're not ready. And you won't pass the test. And you suffer that consequence. And the consequence is you fail. You don't succeed. You don't get a passing mark. You don't meet the mark. And that's what sin is. It's missing the mark. But the instruction teaches you how to hit the mark, how to not miss the mark. Because if I can show you how to not miss the mark, then you can learn from that. You can put 2 and 2 together and say, listen, this is how I hit the mark. Because this shows me how to not miss the mark. And then, you know what? I actually got other examples that show me how to hit the mark. These are like the exercise problems. The exercise problems show you how to hit the mark. I got the instructions. The instructions are telling me the understanding. They're giving me the instructions in the chapter earlier before I get to the exercise problems. They're telling me what I need to understand. And the instruction is showing me how to not miss the mark. Then I got something over here. I got exercise problems to show me this is how you hit the mark. Because these instructions that I gave you, and these concepts and these ideas, these right here, okay? This is how you don't miss the mark. This is what sin is. All right, now let's go to exercise problems. I'm going to show you how to apply, okay? I'm going to show you how to apply the things that I gave you to understand early in the chapter, in the text. I gave you what you should understand. And now that we do the exercise problems, as you go through the exercise problems and you apply the understanding, well, then you'll understand. Well, look, here's the instruction. Here's the Torah. Here's the law. Okay? And when you apply it, then you'll understand. And if you live by this, okay, these things right here, if you live by it, okay, you will live in them. If you understand it, if you put it into practice, you will live by this. And if a man live by this, then he shall live. I made it so clear. I made it so plain. So getting back to the interview, that's basically what I'm saying. I was like, I learned that if I tell myself here there is a solution to the problem, then my mind goes to work on it night and day. Because my mind doesn't stop believing what I tell it. There is a solution. So now I go to sleep. My mind's still working on it. It's like you say there's a solution. And things that on a conscious level that I wouldn't even think of. Answer comes to me in my sleep. Answer comes to me at a time when I don't expect it. Because I'm connected to the truth. That there is a solution to this problem. I'm connected to the truth. I told myself the truth. I got a problem. My mind is going to work. Now my mind is open to the solution to the problem. My mind is open to the solution to the problem because I told myself the truth about the problem, that there is a solution. If I'm in the classroom, and I got the text and the instruction with me, I can go back to the text and to the instruction. I told myself there's a solution. I know it's got to be a solution. The solution has to be, this is how it's set up. It's set up so that the text that I was previously dealing with is connected to these exercise problems. These exercise problems are connected to the text that I just read from. Somewhere in here is going to be what I need to find a solution. Okay? And then sometimes, you know what? It comes up in mathematics that the solution is there is no solution. It's like there is no solution is sometimes the answer. The answer is no solution. Well, what does that let me know? That lets me know, okay, to take the metaphor to what I'm trying to get at is, okay, well, that problem is a dead end. That problem is a dead end. There's no need to go any further, because now I've come to the truth that, okay, I thought this was something that had a solution, but as I work my way through it, I find out, okay, there's no solution. That problem is a dead end. There's nothing else to do with it. Now I found that the solution is no solution. Now I can move on to the next problem. There's no solution to that problem. So pragmatically, how does that play in? Because of the instruction and the text, and because I understand how these things work, I can identify problems that have no solution. I can identify situations, okay, and I know how to work through problems that have no solution, because the instruction helped me do that, because the understanding and the wisdom that I have gained and the knowledge helps me identify things that have no solution. And what I know is I don't have to continue to waste time on those things, those problems that have no solution. I can move on to something else, and I can find a solution to that. I'm doing my homework, and I'm solving these problems, and I find that the solution is there's no solution to that problem. Great. Don't need to waste time on that anymore. Let's move on to the next problem. Found a solution to that one. How satisfying. Let me move on to the next problem. And as I continue to do this, as my knowledge and my understanding are growing, and my capability to answer problems is growing, I'm feeling good about myself. I'm feeling wonderful, because I thought all this stuff was hard. I thought all this stuff was so difficult. Come to find out, all I had to do was slow down, pay attention to the instruction, work my way through the exercise problems, don't cheat myself out of working through the problem, so that I can understand better how to deal with a variety of problems. Because if I just listen, you're just cheating yourself. When you think you're doing it the easy way, you think you're doing it the easy way by not working through things mentally and putting effort into it. Put your heart and your mind into it. Put your heart and your mind into it. Really give it your strength. Strongest things you got. Your heart and your mind. Put those things into it. Your strongest muscle is your mind. Put your strength into it. And you'll find out that this thing's not as difficult as you thought it was. All you got to do is slow down and pay attention to the instruction. If I don't understand the instruction, let me ask some questions. Let me ask some questions to the teacher. Because the teacher is in a position to be the teacher because the teacher understands this material. If it's a good teacher. If the teacher belongs in that position, then the teacher understands this material and can help me through it. But even if the teacher is no good, the textbook is right there. And somewhere, listen, if I can't understand this concept right here, immediately I might need to go back, because this instruction, it might be pointing to something else that I missed earlier. And so now what I'm doing is line upon line, precept upon precept, order upon order. I'm understanding these ideas. There might be a prerequisite to understanding this part that I need to go back and say, oh, okay, now that I understand this part, okay, now I can come back up, okay, and now I understand this part too, because there's a law, there's a definition, there's a concept, an idea, a principle, a theorem, right here, and these two, they're connected. And the reason I wasn't understanding was because I didn't have what went before. And this thing is built upon itself. One thing upon another. The reason I'm not understanding this is because I missed this thing earlier. I can't deal with the advance because I haven't mastered the basic yet. So, yeah. Are you ready for those proofs? You might not be ready for those proofs when you're not understanding the basics. The theorem has been made, in most cases, the theorem has been made, been placed in its simplest form, so it can be readily grasped and understood, so that it can be applicable, so that it can be useful for other situations. In most cases, it's been broken down into its simplest form so that you can apply it to a variety of problems, because critical thought went into it. So yeah, coming back to the interview session at Mickey Truck Bodies again. I keep going off on tangents. Yeah, I think we even talked about tangents in the interview. But because I mean, there's so much connected to what I'm saying. So, sometimes I go off on these tangents because there's a lot connected to what I have to say. So we talked a little bit about it and the concept of how my mind goes to work on problems, and I start to, my mind starts to come up with all these different areas to look into because I told myself that there is a solution. And I start to look in different areas that I never would have looked at if I had already convinced myself that there is no solution. And so I believe that, and again, like I said, like I've told myself the truth. So now because I connected to that truth, I become open to solutions that maybe before I wouldn't have been open to. And now if I'm dealing with a certain type of problem, okay, I'm even open to the solution that there is no solution, that going down this road is a dead end. And that's important to be able to identify, because that's going to give me information that's useful too. And again, pragmatically, taking this from just math to life situations, like how does that principle apply? Because if I know that this is a dead end, if I know that putting drugs in my vein, a needle in my arm or in my leg, if I know that drinking alcohol because I'm sad and I want to make myself feel good, I want to self-medicate, if I know these things are just temporary, insufficient solutions to the things that I'm dealing with, I know they're a dead end. I know that pornography is a dead end. It's just fulfilling a legitimate need that I have in an illegitimate way. I know that indulging in anger and hatred and bickering, because it's giving me a release, and it's giving me it's giving me satisfaction and in my brain, and I feel good about being able to jump off in anger. Because I get to take out all my frustrations from other things. And I get to channel all that into a situation that probably doesn't even deserve all of the anger and the animosity and the negative energy that I'm bringing to it. I'm not being angry with the right person in the right amount at the right time. But it doesn't matter, because this is a release for me. Because I'm unable, I don't have the emotional maturity to deal with the problems in my life in an emotionally mature way, where I can look at it and say, look, this is what's going on right now, and I can stop and think, and I can deal with that problem in an appropriate, mature way, then, so that later on I'm not popping off at somebody else because of all of this built up stuff that I haven't been dealing with properly. And I've let it accumulate and fester to the point that it's become malignant. It's like a cancer. And the way that I'm dealing with people, the way I'm dealing with the individuals in my life, is cancerous. I'm debilitating to the people that are around me. because I'm taking away from them. And that's why I just rather be by myself. I'd rather just not be bothered by anybody. Because the truth be told, I get aggravated just being around myself. I'm so angry. But I don't know how to be any other way. And I'm scared to be another way, because if I don't continue to be like this, if I don't continue to be stuck behind that door like that little baby, then who am I going to be? Who am I? No, this is where I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because shooting up these drugs, drinking this alcohol all the time, and being addicted to it, like, that stuff's not really making me happy. Like, that's just, listen, that's just something that's just something I'm trying to fill up this gaping hole, but it keeps coming out. I'm trying to fill up this gaping hole instead of me trying to find a permanent fix, a real solution. Like, the only thing I can think to do is to just keep filling this hole up, this gaping hole, this I'm just going to keep filling this gaping hole up with temporary solutions. And they keep disappearing. This happy feeling that I have when I have this temporary thing, this illegitimate way of fulfilling a legitimate need. I'm really afraid. I'm scared to go to the Father and really take seriously what he said and really put it into practice, so that I can have a permanent fix, so that I can have a joy that surpasses all understanding. Because I don't really believe what he said. I mean, I kind of believe. I mean, that might work. But I'm really, I don't know. I don't know if am I really willing to bet my life or change my life? So that it really depends on the word that he said. Because there's a whole lot of people out here. It's a whole lot of reason to doubt. It's a lot of people saying that he don't even exist. God don't even exist. And it's all foolishness. It's a lot. I can't see him. I mean, the word says he's a God that hides himself. But I don't even know that, because I haven't been in the word. The word says, he said he'll dwell in a thick cloud. And God sometimes hides himself. And God gives the instruction, hey, seek my face. Which will indicate that he might be hidden somewhere. So if he's hidden somewhere, then I would have to seek him. But I mean, how would I know that? If I didn't even go to the text to see the instruction so that I can figure out the problem and find a solution. And how are they going to know if they don't have one to teach them? And the teachers that you have are leading you astray. Your teachers won't even point you to the text and say, hey, read this chapter. Not unless it's pointing you to the error of their own imaginations. Not unless it's something that they've twisted to support their own ideas. And that's why they want you to stay away from the volume, from the whole thing. And they only want you to see this part. So you go to church for 30, 40, 50 years. And the whole time, they're preaching out of 1, 2, 3, 4 books. Whole time. They stand in the New Testament. They don't want you to see what's in the Old Testament. Whole time. They don't want to give you the context of what's going on. But remember, these things, it's just like math. These things built one upon another. And the reason you're struggling to get this concept, because it's built on something else. There's some other principles, some theorems, some definitions, some laws that the problems that you're dealing with now, they built upon that. And if you don't get that, then you're not going to get this. So they give you a book that's New Testament only. New Testament only. And they say, listen, man. Listen. I heard a guy tell me, John, the dad of the future mother of my son. He don't know that yet, because he can't see as far as I see. But I had him tell me, listen, man, stay out of that Old Testament, man. That stuff will make you crazy. Just stay in the New Testament. The whole time, listen, the New Testament can't stand on its own. New Testament can't stand on its own. Has no legs to stand on its own. Take away the Old Testament. Just read the New Testament by itself. You be puzzled and perplexed. What are they referring to? What are they talking about? What are they referring to? What are they talking about? What are they talking about? It's written. What are they talking about? Surely it was said. What are they talking about? What are they referring to? What law? Keep what commandments? Keep what laws? But they telling you, man, stay out of that Old Testament. That stuff don't have nothing to do with anything. That's Old Testament. Yeah, but go. Is there a prophet among you? Speak of the old things, the ancient ways, the ancient past. And what do the prophets do? Every one of them. That's the only thing they're going to do is keep pointing you back to the old. Why? Because it's not going to pass away. It's not going to go away. And it doesn't matter how bad you want it to. Nothing can be added to it. Nothing taken away from it. Doesn't matter how many times you say, those were the biblical days. Listen, you're living in the biblical days now. You're living in biblical days right now. Who told you that the biblical days were gone and over? Who told you that the biblical days were done with? These days couldn't be any more biblical. Some of those biblical days that you're talking about, there wasn't even a Bible then. Those biblical days that you're talking about, the Bible didn't exist in the form that it exists now. So you're talking about that stuff only applies to those biblical days. There wasn't even a Bible then, what you have now. You like, that only applies to biblical days. Listen, Isaiah had to spend time writing out what he wrote. In Isaiah's day, the book of Isaiah didn't exist. He had to make it. He had to write it through my instruction, through my guidance. He had to write it. So the book of Isaiah didn't come about before the days of Isaiah. So these things that exist now, the things that were written back then, listen, that's for these times. That's for this generation. The things that were written before are for your benefit. But your reasoning is, oh, that only applies to the biblical. You were in the biblical times. Because I'm here now. Like I said I would be. That I will walk among you. I will make my dwelling place among you. And my soul will not despise you. Such that I was unwilling to be among you. Because that has been the case before. But now I'm here. But don't get it twisted. There are those who my soul does despise. Because just because I'm here, that doesn't mean I'm accepting everybody. That doesn't mean that I'm accepting no abominations, no liars. That doesn't mean that I'm accepting the unrepentant, the willingly sinful, the willingly self-deceived, who won't abide in the truth. No, I'm talking to someone else. I'm talking about those that belong to me. I'm talking about the descendants of Yaqub, who I was one time angry with. I'm talking about them. I'm not just talking about them, I'm talking about others too. Because I will add unto them. Even those from among the nations. I'm going to join them to my people too. I'm going to make my people to be what I intended for them to be in the first place. An example. A royal priesthood. An example of being my servant, so that I will be all in all. So that the knowledge of me will cover the whole earth, as the waters cover the oceans. From the rising of the sun to the setting of the same. My praise and my glory will be known through the whole earth. That's the end. That's the certain prophecy. That I gave to Daniel. That's the only end result. I'm the only savior. You're looking for another one to save you? You're going to be sorely disappointed. Looking for someone else to come and establish the kingdom? You're going to be sorely disappointed. No, there's no one else coming. And there's no salvation in another. I'm the only savior. You think someone else is going to save you? Good luck. You're going to be sorely disappointed. And I will laugh at your calamity, because you were not willing to receive my instruction. I will have you in derision. I'm not a man that I shall lie, nor a son of man. Don't put your trust in a son of man, in a prince or in a king. No, the only salvation is me. Put your trust in the word which I spoke. I'm not a man that I shall lie. As it is written, let Elohim be the truth, and every man a liar. I have placed in Zion, a stumbling block, a rock of offense, I have sent to you a strong delusion. For those of you who are given over to the inclination, the proclivity to give my glory and my praise to idols, I've given you an idol that you can believe in, a strong delusion. Since the people love idols so dearly and are unwilling to reserve my praise and my glory, the glory of my name, for me, but want to give it to idols, things that are not Elohim, I've given you a strong delusion that even though the truth was spoken out of his mouth, you still believe that another besides me is Elohim. Even though the truth was spoken, you're given over to the strong delusion, and I give you over to it. Because that's your inclination anyway. Because in truth, you hate me. You're ready to give my glory to another. Because you hate my ways. Because you hate my law. So you have your idol. And you have the reasoning by which you twist the truth that was spoken so that you have free reign to break the law. Which according to you was abolished, removed, done away with, so that there is lawlessness, and lawlessness is your rule, and sin is your master, and you are your own Elohim. You are your own God. You are your own idol. It's not that the messenger that was sent is truly an idol, but it's a strong delusion. It's what you want to see. You want to see that another other than Elohim is Elohim. You want to believe that delusion so that you can do your own desire, so that you can do your own will. And you claim that that's your God. You claim that that's your Elohim, the one in whom you believe. But you don't want to acknowledge when he says, not my will, but your will be done. You don't want to acknowledge what that means. You don't want to answer the question, who is my mother? And who is my father? Who is my brothers? Who are my sisters? Those that do the will of the one that sent me. No, it's much more convenient for you. It's much more comfortable for you to acknowledge and to make a golden calf of your own and say, this is my God. This is the one that gave me breath. This is the one that shaped and formed me. The God that I made. This is my God. Because the truth is, you're your own God. Because you have rejected the authority of the one true Elohim. And since there's only one true Elohim, every other Elohim, every other God, every other thing that you want to give my glory must be false. Because there's only one true Elohim. And there is no Savior besides me. Before me, there was no God. And after me, no God will be formed. There was none with me in the beginning. And there won't ever be another besides me. I alone am Elohim. Only I caused all things to be. It was I alone who decided that anything would exist other than me. It was I who decided that I would exist. And that I will remain eternally. It was I who decided that the nations would be in their times and when they would end. It was I that spoke of them before they came to be. And it is I who will bring them utterly to their end. And my kingdom in their place will be established without end. There is no Elohim besides me. So you can choose to believe other than what I say at your own risk and at your own peril. But for now, I'll leave you with this. When the smoke is clear, there's no hevel here, because I made my level clear, and it's all said and done. Only my will shall be done. Rejoice in the truth and hate a lie. I'm almighty, El Elyon, Elohim, El Shaddai. I'm the highest one, and the fight is won. The competition none, not even the sun. You know then that my name is one, and that name itself is the only one.